vice chancellors, deputy vice chancellors, and some guests we are expecting from outside. So those who are not in that category, I have been asked to respectfully inform you to relocate only for former VCs. Please, may I respectfully ask every one of us to rise on our feet as we welcome the 205th inaugural lecturer of the unique University of Port Harcourt. Music, please. Thank you very much. Photographer, please take your position. Please go back, go back. We will begin as we take the national anthem. That will be followed by the university anthem.
Try and tell me, in brotherhood we stand. My gentle and proud will serve our sovereign fatherland.
The university anthem.
This is called the universe. Fall and leave the pride of
Please be seated. It is my honor this beautiful afternoon as the Public Relations Officer of the University of Port Harcourt to respectfully welcome everyone to the 205th inaugural lecture series of the University of Port Harcourt with the title, A Tale of Old Wine in New Wineskin, to be delivered by Professor Udeme Owunari, Georgewill. It is my pleasure to welcome everyone. Please just be very comfortable, find a place and get seated. I would like to establish the protocol to enable us commence this very wonderful program here today. Now I have a man I want to introduce to us today. Very, very resourceful and cerebral. I am talking about a man who today wears two caps. He is the husband to the inaugural lecturer. And today, he is also doubling, as usual, in his capacity as the chairman of today's occasion. Not just that, he is the vice chancellor of the only unique university in the world, Professor Owunari Abraham Georgewill. You're welcome, sir. Let me inform us very briefly and quickly that I'd like to introduce other principal officers very quickly. We have the DVC administration, Professor Chukwudi Onyanso, seated. Next is the DVC R&D, Professor Angela Frank Briggs. We also have Professor Helen Emas. We also have in our midst today the Registrar of the University of Port Harcourt, Dr. Gloria Chinda, ably represented by the Director of Academic Affairs, Mr. Good News Ija. And we have the University Librarian, Professor Helen Marcelo, seated. I have the honor and the privilege to also respectfully introduce to us the Provost of the College of Health Sciences, Professor Ngozi AKK. And I have the honor to respectfully inform us that the next is the president of the University of Port Harcourt Women Association. But today, she is functioning as the 205th inaugural lecturer of the University of Port Harcourt. Very distinguished Professor Udeme Owunari Georgewill. Our elegant First Lady. Welcome, ma'am. Now, let me also very briefly, the VC as directed, I recognize a very important personality in our midst who flew in all the way from the center of unity just to be a part of this occasion today. Ladies and gentlemen, we have in our midst today the former acting executive secretary of the NUC, Dr. Chris Mayake. You're welcome, sir. You're welcome to your home. Let me also very respectfully inform us that the Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of Council is here, ably represented by a high-ranking council member. And by the grace of God, he has served as a former local government chairman, and he is a natural ruler, His Royal Majesty. I'm talking about Mene Kadilo Kabari. He's in our midst today. Representing the Pro-Chancellor, very distinguished Senator Mao Ohabuwan. You are welcome. You're welcome. And just directly before me here, we have the honor and the privilege to welcome the brand new Chief Medical Director of the University of Port Harcourt Teaching Hospital. I'm talking about Professor Chitru Olowene. You're welcome. And it's supported by the other staff. Thank you very much. And respectfully, we have in our midst today, the introduction is quite long, so please, I will cut it very short so that we can continue. But I will not fail to inform us that the 7th Vice Chancellor of the University of Port Harcourt is in our midst, Professor Joseph Ajenka. Welcome, sir. Professor Ajenka is here with the First Lady, Dr. Mrs. Ajenka, former OKWA President. You're welcome. I know OKWA will clap the more. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. I can also see the former DVC Administration Professor Nduka. You're welcome, sir. Welcome, sir. And former DVC R1D is seated here. Let me welcome Professor Seminae. Yopo Seminalaye. Welcome, sir. Welcome, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I have the honor to also inform us that the first DVC R1D is in the house. I'm talking about Professor Willie Bene Abe. You're welcome, man. You're welcome. You're welcome. And Oga is also here. You're welcome, sir. You're welcome, sir. Thank you very much. We also have other very distinguished personalities in our midst today. You are most welcome to this wonderful occasion. And then I have the honor to introduce to us the family of the Georgewills in our midst today. You are most welcome. And of course, at the appropriate time, the inaugural lecturer will do proper introduction during the time of recognition. We want to say thanks to everyone for finding time to be here today. And I want to respectfully take permission from the Vice Chancellor to be protected because we have so many guests in the house. And if we want to mention their names, we may not be able to start on time. So I want to thank everyone for finding time to be here today. And the VC has graciously granted me that cover. Thank you very much. May I invite the registrar to kindly step forward for the rest of the program. Thank you.
May I join the PRO to welcome us very warmly to this special time. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Let me invite the Vice Chancellor of the University of Port Harcourt, Professor Owunari Georgewill, to make his opening remarks. Vice Chancellor, sir.
Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration, Deputy Vice Chancellor Research and Development, the Registrar of the University ably represented, the University Librarian, Provost College of Health Sciences, the inaugural lecturer, my dear wife. Yes, so it's important. Deans of faculties, directors of centers and institutes, distinguished professors were here on the high table. The Vice Chancellor, Ignatius Ajuru University, you are welcome. The former Executive Secretary, NUC, sir, you are welcome. Pro-Chancellor, ably represented here, you are welcome. CMD, UBGH, I recognize you and say you are welcome. Former Vice Chancellors, specifically our second Vice Chancellor, sir, and his dear wife, I welcome you. Distinguished professors, emeritus professors, my Lord Spiritual and Temporal, my Lord Bishop, Archbishop, I welcome you. The Department of Pharmacology is fully on ground here. I want to, as part of that department, welcome all the professors from far and near who are here of pharmacology who are here to witness today. It's our day as pharmacologists. The family of the inaugural lecturers, me first as the husband. Then I recognize other family members who are sitting on the seat provided for the family. It is with immense joy. Sorry, I'm my beloved University of Port Harcourt students, very unique students. Clap for yourselves, students too, who are here. And then staff of the University of Port Harcourt too. It is with immense joy and a profound sense of institutional pride that I welcome you all to this 205th inaugural lecture of the University of Port Harcourt. As we are all aware, an inaugural lecture is never a routine academic ceremony, but a defining scholarly milestone. It is a moment of reflection, a moment of intellectual reawakening, and a moment of renewed commitment to the enduring mission of the university. It is the pursuit of knowledge that does not merely inform, but transforms society. I have stood here as Vice Chancellor and Chief Host to over 30 inaugural lectures since my assumption of duty, from 2021 till today, 2026. However, today, I am pleased to stand once again for yet another inaugural lecture, this time by also an erudite scholar, my very own, my wife, my beloved wife and mother of my children, the president of the unique University of Port Harcourt Women Association, that's UPWA, Director School of Basic Studies, a wise woman who balances work, academics, and family life. Yes, she is one who, through years of disciplined inquiry, rigorous scientific research, and steadfast dedication, have stretched the boundaries of human understanding and strengthened the scholarly foundations of this great institution, like many other professors. I am grateful to God, and I make bold to say today that I am an accomplished Vice Chancellor. We have provided a platform for her to excel, and indeed she has excelled. I'm indeed fulfilled as a husband. That I married her and allowed her to excel, and she has excelled to the full point of her potential. I'm saying this because I didn't marry her to limit her. So I am very, very happy that she has risen to full potential in what she chooses to do. Congratulations. In this lecture, Professor Udeme, you can see I didn't put the Georgewill, so now I want to talk directly to her. Professor Udeme invites us into a deeply provocative and necessary conversation. A conversation about innovation. A conversation about survival in a world of shifting scientific and social realities. A conversation about how the past, when critically examined and courageously interpreted, can become the most powerful instrument for shaping the future. Today, we do not merely listen, we engage. We do not merely observe, we reflect. And in doing so, we reaffirm the noble calling of the academy to question boldly, to think rigorously, and to illuminate pathways where others see mainly limitations. Today's lecture is carefully structured to move us from foundational principles to pressing realities, from theory to lived scientific experience, and from local concerns to global relevance. Professor Udeme begins by rigorously unpacking drug repurposing, an area, a specialty she is very familiar with. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished colleagues, if you are anxious to know more about drug repurposing, just as I am, then let's sit tight and drink from this new wineskins that is gotten from what? From older wine, as presented by our 205th inaugural lecturer, Professor Udeme Owunari, Georgewill. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
May I now invite the Provost, College of Health Sciences, Professor Ngozi Oekeke, to deliver the citation. The Provost, please.
May the inaugural lecture kindly rise. The Vice Chancellor, let me continue on the other protocols. Citation on Professor Udeme Owunari Georgewill, F. Weeks, 5th MLD, MBBCH, MSc, PhD. Professor Udeme Owunari Georgewill, ni Dominic Uyanga, born on the 23rd September 1977, is a scholar of rare distinction whose professional life is defined by intellectual rigor, visionary leadership, and unwavering commitment to advancing medical science. Her academic journey commenced in the vibrant scholarly environment of Port Harcourt and culminated initially at the University of Calabar, where she earned the Bachelor of Medicine and Bachelor of Surgery degree. Driven by a deep and enduring curiosity about the mechanisms of drug action and therapeutic response, she returned to the University of Port Harcourt to obtain both her master's and doctoral degrees in pharmacology, thereafter laying the foundation of a prolific 19-year career in healthcare, research, and higher education. Rising steadily through the academic ranks from lecturer 2 to the pinnacle of her profession, she was appointed Professor of Pharmacology in October 2022 with a specialized focus on chemotherapy. I think she deserves a clap. Her career at the University of Port Harcourt is distinguished
by exemplary administrative leadership, including 2 terms as acting head of department and her current transformative 2nd term as director of the School of Basic Studies. Under her stewardship, the school has recorded unprecedented growth in student enrollment and achieved the landmark establishment of its first computer-based testing center. Professor Udeme is a globally recognized researcher and has authored over 68 scientific publications in reputable peer-reviewed journals and has presented her research at nearly 30 international conferences. I think she needs a clap. Her expertise has informed national academic policy through her engagements with the National University Commission, and she is an active member of several prestigious professional bodies, including the West African Society for Pharmacology and the International Union of Basic and Clinical Pharmacology. A committed mentor, she has supervised over 40 graduate and more than 50 undergraduate students, shaping the next generation of scholars and healthcare professionals. Her influence extends beyond the classroom and laboratory, whether serving as supervisor for health in agricultural local government area or engaging communities as a public speaker and self-investment coach. Professor Udeme Georgewill remains passionately devoted to the development of the holistic individual, just as the husband has attested. She needs a clap for that. She's also a trailblazer in institutional development and advocacy. As the first professor to serve as president of the University of Port Harcourt Women Association, her historic tenure advanced gender equity and delivered landmark infrastructure projects that will benefit the university community for many generations to come. A fellow of the Wynne Institute for Gender Studies and a lady knight of the Anglican Church, Professor Udeme Georgewill exemplifies a harmonious balance of faith, family, and formidable scholarship. She is happily married to the Vice Chancellor, Professor Owunari Abraham Georgewill, and they are blessed with 3 daughters. Professor Udeme Owunari Georgewill stands today as a beacon of academic integrity, a symbol of purpose-driven leadership, and a living testament to the truth that true greatness lies not merely in personal achievement, but in the power to inspire others to excel. Please receive with me this erudite scholar, Lady Knight of Anglican Church, Upper President, mother, and wife of our digital golden Vice Chancellor, the 205th inaugural lecturer, Professor Udeme Owunari Georgewill, to give her inaugural lecture.
It is good to give inaugural lecture. The sweet words I've heard today, my Valentine is already made. the Vice Chancellor of the University of Port Harcourt, and my beloved husband, principal officers here seated, Provost College of Health Sciences, deans of faculties, directors of centers, distinguished professors, my beloved family members, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen of the press. It is an honor to deliver the 205th inaugural lecture of the University of Port Harcourt as part of the inaugural lecture series titled A Tale of Old Wine in New Wineskins. By way of dedication, I dedicate this lecture to Mom and Dad, both of blessed memories, Dr. Dominic and Mrs. Ibukura Uyanga. A Tale of Old Wine in New Wineskins. I will deliver this lecture using this table of contents as outlined on the screen. In the dead of night on the 12th of July, 1983, I remember sitting in the back of my parents' car as we headed to Ikorai and Ediene in Akwa Ibom State. Clutched in my mom's arms was the lifeless body of my younger brother, who had just passed. The silence was deafening. Their pain was palpable. And I thought to myself, I had just lost my play partner. What was I going to do? Could I have done anything differently to save him? Ladies and gentlemen, in that moment, I decided I was going to become a medical doctor. My journey to the medical school took me through the corridors of the University of Port Harcourt Demonstration Primary School, the University Demonstration Secondary School, and the University of Calabar, where I came back with an MBBCH degree in medicine and surgery. My love for pharmacology, which is the study of drugs, brought me right back to the Department of Pharmacology in the University of Port Harcourt, where I applied for the role of lecturer 2. Interestingly, the acting head of department at that time was Dr. Owunari Abraham Georgewill. So you see, our story didn't start today. As is traditional with the department, we're all encouraged to try our hands at different levels or different areas of pharmacology, which span general and autonomic pharmacology, endocrine pharmacology, toxicology, which is the study, of the toxic effects, immunopharmacology, cardiovascular pharmacology, and chemotherapy, amongst others. However, I settled for chemotherapy, which has to do with how drugs affect rapidly dividing cells in the body. Now, if you think that chemotherapy largely has to do with cancer, then you're not wrong, but it extends beyond that. My research focus in the department during my PhD shaped what we will be discussing today. As during that period, I worked on a combination that was going to be repurposed. Disulfiram is a known anti-alcoholism drug, and it was to be repurposed with calcium gluconate, a supplement. This combination was to be used in the management of cancers. And my supervisors and I decided to study the harmful effects of these combinations to fill the literature gaps. Ladies and gentlemen, this was how I was introduced to drug repurposing. By way of an introduction, pharmacology predates the 19th century. It is recorded that since the fall of man, there have been diseases. And ever since then, man has tried to intervene and find solutions or cures to these illnesses. And so the pre-19th century was marked by the use of herbs and minerals. The 19th century, which is known as the dawn of modern drug production, was marked by the isolation of pure compounds. By the 20th century, we came into the age of innovation, and this age was marked by the scientific revolution, where there were mass production and regulation of drugs. And today, the modern era, which started from the late 20th century to the present, marked by technological advancements, including genomics, where we use genes to affect how we give our drugs or how genes affect drugs, and artificial intelligence. Let me digress a little and take you on another route. In the early years of our research, we dabbled into scientific validation of our herbs. I want to believe that a lot of us here are aware of the different concoctions. We probably have seen them at home. And I recall my dad used to have one he famously called Concobito. It was a combination of scent leaf extract and bitter leaf. True or false? Yes, because a lot of us were used to that. And so we went ahead to scientifically validate some of the claims about these herbs. We worked on a plant known as the Pseudocydrilla kochi, also known as tuna in Hausa, and we found that it actually lowered blood sugar levels in our study animals. We also evaluated anti-inflammatory and anti-diabetic effects of Abrus precatorius. This plant is known as Oto berebere in Igbo. And indeed, it was found to have both anti-arthritic and blood sugar lowering effects. We studied the anti-arthritic effect of Vennonia amygdalina, which is your common bitter leaf. And indeed, as my father claimed, the aqueous plant extract had anti-arthritic properties. We went ahead to study Moringa oleifera for its anti-inflammatory effects. And we concluded that indeed it had anti-inflammatory effects. In recent times, we have evaluated the anti-epileptic potentials of Parsonsia straminea, what is commonly known as monkey rope. And we found, indeed, as is claimed by those who use it locally for the treatment of epilepsy, that it had anti-epileptic effects. What are our thoughts on this? All the plants we studied were effective for the conditions that they were studied for. So they were effective in lowering blood glucose levels, in decreasing inflammation, even in treating, managing epilepsy. However, we advise that these concoctions be taken with care, as we also advise further studies on dose optimization and the harmful effects of these drugs or of these concoctions, if any. Back to why we are here, drug repurposing. The Bible says in Matthew 9:17, neither do people pour new wine into old wineskins. If they do, the skins will burst, the wine will run out, and the wineskins will be ruined. No, they pour new wine into new wineskins, and both are preserved. One would ask, what does this have to do with drug repurposing? The Bible says, do not pour new wine into old wineskins, and do not pour old wine into new wineskins. But with drug repurposing, we are here to reassign old drugs used for other conditions to new uses. Literally, we're going to be putting old wine into new wineskins. Why drug repurposing, one would ask? Because drug discovery, which is the standard route for producing drugs, takes a very long time, an average of 15 to 20 years for a drug to find its way from the laboratory to the shelves where you can now use them. It also costs the pharmaceutical industry billions of dollars. And more often than not, it ends in disappointment. And so with drug repurposing, the time is cut short. The amount spent is also cut short. It also predicates on the fact that you already have a buildup of literature of the toxicology and efficacy of these drugs at the time of production. And so it offers a shorter route to a solution to the issues that we deal with. One would ask, what is our motivation? It promises cheaper, readily available alternatives for the disease conditions that plague our people, such as malaria. I want to believe that in recent times, one or more of us here must have treated malaria. True or false? Yes. The burden of malaria is enormous. Nigeria bears the highest global burden with 68 million cases and 194,000 deaths alone in 2021. Nigeria alone accounts for nearly a third of global malaria deaths. Does this not call for concern? Now, the Sustainable Development Goals 3.3 aims to end the epidemics of AIDS, tuberculosis, malaria, and the neglected tropical diseases by 2030. The question is this feasible? We're in 2025. Is this feasible? Now, the WHO's global strategy for malaria is, 1, to reduce the incidence and mortality by 90% by 2030. And how does it intend to achieve this? By eliminating malaria in at least 35 countries, by accelerating efforts in prevention, diagnosis, and treatment. Treatment is where we come in as pharmacologists. Where are we? I would like to ask the question, Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir. Kindly allow me. I'll take an impromptu poll. The ACTs are the commonest drugs we use for uncomplicated malaria. And while I'll be calling their scientific names, I just want the audience to realize that these are drugs we use all the time. Most of them come in as 80-480 formulations, where you take 1-2 times a day. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yes. Some of them come, some other combinations will come as 3 start. You take the 3 at once or 2 at once. You understand what I'm talking about? Thank you. So the ACTs are the gold standard for malaria treatment, but they are facing rising resistance. And why is that? How many of us have taken anti-malarial in recent times? That combination. Will I be right to say you have taken that drug in recent times? True or false? Would it be right to also say that after taking it, you didn't feel better after the first dose, and you ended up having to take it again? Would I be right to also say that some people still didn't feel better and ended up having to take either the injectable forms or decided to try Dogon Yaro? True or false? So you know what I'm talking about. This is the easiest way I can explain resistance to you. In the animal kingdom, the simple rule is survival. And so while we are trying to kill the parasite is developing mechanisms to ensure that it survives. And in so doing, it is rendering the drugs that we are giving ineffective. Unfortunately, our most vulnerable populations are the children under 5 and pregnant women. Literally, our unborn generations being cleared out. And we can't sit back, fold our hands, and watch silently while that happens. And so, as researchers, we set out to combine these ACTs, which ordinarily already affect different parts of the life cycle of the parasite. And so, we thought if we were to add a third drug, if parasite clearance would improve, if the patients would feel better, and if we could buy some time for whatever new replacements are being worked on. And this sets the tone for what we did in our laboratories. The triple combinations for resistance. Artemether-lumefantrine is the commonest of the 8480s you take. There are so many brands. But we went ahead to combine it with ketotifen. Now, ketotifen is a drug we use normally for treatment of allergies, but it has an effect on the parasites as it kills the blood and liver stage parasites. When we combined it with artemether-lumefantrine, we had 90% clearance after 7 days in our study animals in the curative test. We therefore, Ezerioha and Adiku, concluded that this drug could be repurposed for the use of, for the treatment of malaria. We also complexed artemether-lumefantrine with ivermectin. Ivermectin is a very common drug used for the management or treatment of worms. And so it inhibits protein transport. And so when we added this and combined it with artemether-lumefantrine, we achieved a 90% clearance rate of the parasites after 7 days in the curative tests. Other tests similarly had greater than 90% clearance rates. And so Liverpool and Adiku and I have suggested that indeed this drug could serve, or combination could serve, as a valuable adjunctive therapy in malaria management. We went ahead to complex artemether-lumefantrine with tinidazole. Tinidazole is an antibiotic originally used in the treatment of amoebiasis. And our results showed a 99.1% inhibition after 7 days, suggesting that indeed tinidazole could be, and this combination with tinidazole could serve as a valuable adjunctive therapy in malaria. Ladies and gentlemen, is this not old wine in new wineskins? We continued working on other combinations, dihydroartemisinin and piperaquine, and desloratadine, a non-sedating antihistamine. And we had a greater than 80% inhibition rate for the curative test, greater than 94 or 90% for suppressive and prophylactic, respectively. And so we opine that this combination can be used or repurposed for malaria treatment. We combined sulfadoxine pyrimethamine with doxycycline, and we had a 93.6% inhibition rate. And so we surmised that indeed this combination can be repurposed for the treatment of malaria. We didn't stop there. Remember, we have a lot of combinations. And so we were trying to put these together to see which would give the best results at the end of the day. And dihydroartemisinin piperaquine was complexed with nitrofurantoin, a urinary antiseptic. And yet again, we had, for the curative test, a 91.41% parasitemia clearance. And for the prophylactic test, we had a 97.4% inhibition rate. And yet again, we surmise that indeed, this combination can be repurposed for the treatment of malaria. We combined rifampicin with dihydroartemisinin piperaquine. We recorded a 97.2% inhibition. And when rifampicin was combined with sulfadoxine pyrimethamine, we had a 96% inhibition. Ladies and gentlemen, the most important thing about all our findings was this. As we continued checking, or as we continued evaluating parasite levels, they kept reducing. And indeed, after 7 days, parasite clearance was very high. And that gave us the impetus to take our craft and take our results to the clinics. We also went ahead with the safety concerns, because safety is also important when you're managing your patient totally and overall. And we evaluated some of these combinations. And with artemether lumefantrine tinidazole combination, we found an interesting thing. One, the drugs or these combinations were administered to animals that were not parasitized with Plasmodium beggae, which is the form we use in our animals of the malaria parasite we use in our animal studies. And we compared it with those that were parasitized. Interestingly, there were no derangements recorded with either the kidney or liver enzymes in the parasitized mice. But the animals that were non-parasitized actually showed derangements in liver and kidney enzymes. And our conclusion was this: it is not all malaria fever that is fever. It's not all malaria fever or malaria fever that is caused by malaria, or it's not all fever, rather, that is caused by malaria. And so what are we saying? You cannot continue to pop pills without finding the reason why you need to be treated. So if you take drugs simply for the fun of taking them or diagnose yourself, you might also be injuring your organs. We went from the laboratory to the clinic, and we tested two drugs, artemether lumefantrine ivermectin combination, and our findings revealed a mean percentage recovery of 80% with the combination, as opposed to 40% in the group that received just the dual normal ACT, or the group that received ivermectin alone. Interestingly, within the 14-day period of follow-up, none of our patients returned with the symptoms of malaria. And after 14 days, most of their malaria parasite evaluation was negligible or very low. Similar findings we got with artemether lumefantrine and tinidazole. And with this combination, we actually recorded 100% mean percentage recovery as at day 14. Ladies and gentlemen, it is on record that a key trial today is already ongoing. And artemether lumefantrine is being complexed with amodiaquine combination. And so the triple therapy will soon come to life. As the world is moving towards triple combination therapy in malaria treatment, we didn't end our studies with malaria. However, malaria is a disease of particular concern. True or false? And so a large chunk of our work was done on malaria. But at the time, suicides were very common. And this particular agent was being used to perpetuate this, because diclovos, an organophosphate insecticide, is largely used for agricultural purposes. And so it is readily available everywhere. Even at that time, it was even sold in traffic. People could actually buy it off traffic. And when it inhibits acetylcholinesterase, which is the enzyme, acetylcholine will accumulate. And when it stimulates the receptors, you will have things like salivation, lacrimation, which is crying, tears, and all of that will eventually lead to death. The standard drug treatment is atropine, but we tried complexing, we tried using clofeniramine, a H1 antagonist, which we found blocks these receptors and is very readily available everywhere around us. Interestingly, it gave us a very good result. The antidotal effect was great. But more interestingly was that when we complexed it with atropine, combined, the results were even better than either atropine alone or clofeniramine alone. We tried to repurpose rosuvastatin. Rosuvastatin is a drug that is used to lower blood cholesterol levels. And when we try to repurpose it for use in epilepsy, our findings reveal that this combination gave 100% protection and 0% mortality. In other words, our study animals, after 1 hour observation, did not die. We tried repurposing tadalafil for gastric ulcer. Tadalafil is a drug that is originally used for erectile dysfunction. And when we tried using it in the management of gastric ulcer, we found that it had a gastroprotective effect as it reduced the ulcer index. This work was done with Ajibo in 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, and Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, indeed, drug repurposing is simply the way to go for our continent, primarily because it offers a shortcut to getting the needed medications to our disease conditions, which prove financially unviable to the pharmaceutical industries. I do not believe that anyone can alter the Bible. Neither do I believe that the word of God is not sacrosanct. And so, while drug repurposing literally depicts old wine being poured into new wineskins, we surmise that for these wineskins to be able to hold the old wines, we must constantly reevaluate the efficacy of these combinations. We must reevaluate the safety of these combinations, and we must carefully monitor by following up on the patients who use these combinations to ensure that they are all safe. Our future research is geared toward dose optimization. We need to work on build our databases for future artificial intelligence-driven drug repurposing. The world is moving to AI, and we cannot be left behind. We continue with our clinical trials to document side effects as research moves to the patient's bedside. Our recommendations. To the government, we recommend that a National Center for Drug Repurposing be set up. This center will use AI and molecular docking, which is computational methods, to screen existing pharmacopoeia for new indications. We want to reach out to our policymakers to make the translation of research from the laboratories and to the consumers a bit less cumbersome with the policies and seamless. To the university, funding is a no-brainer. For researchers and the university at large, we need funding to keep doing what we do. And we need to modernize our laboratory infrastructure because the new wine requires high throughput screening technology. This would help keep Nigerian scientists at the global frontiers. Ladies and gentlemen, let me use this opportunity to thank everyone who has shown up. I want to acknowledge the presence of God in my life, for indeed, without him, I am nothing. I famously call myself God Pikin, because in him I live, I move, and I have my being. I wish to thank my parents, both of blessed memories, for the sacrifice for ensuring that we are here today. It is what they did, is the sacrifice they put together that has brought me here, and I am grateful. I extend this thanks to my late mother-in-law, Mrs. Inei Abraham Georgewill, for grooming the gentleman that became my husband. To my beloved siblings, Dominic and Inaingo and Eme, I love you all. To my beloved nieces and nephews, I say thank you very much. Grandma Auntie Yudi loves you very, very much. To my relatives, the Benibos and the Uyangas, I say thank you. My in-laws, the Abraham Georgewills, especially my second husband, Sir, the Honorable Justice Biobele Abraham Georgewill. And family, I say thank you. To my teachers, all the way from primary through university, I say thank you. I want to especially thank my teacher who came all the way from Calabar. When we went into year 4 at that time in the University of Calabar, we had only 2 teachers, Professor Akpan and Professor Victor Braid. And at the tail end, a gorgeous young lady walked into our department, and she's here today, Professor Grace Akanimo Eshet. Ma, thank you very much for coming. To my colleagues and staff of the Department of Pharmacology, I say thank you. I have to specially mention all my supervisors. Professor Motayo Ebong, who supervised me at master's level. Thank you very much, Ma. Professor Brambaifa, Professor Bianime, and Professor I.M. Simnialaye, my PhD supervisors. I say thank you very, very much. And Professor Owunari Abraham Georgewill, the supervisor at home. I say thank you, sir. Other staff of the department, I say thank you. I want to especially recognize Dr. Adiko Elias, who has been a reliable research partner all the way from our master's days. Thank you very much, sir. To my students, wherever you are, please rise. Postgraduate and undergraduate, I say thank you very, very much. I want to specially recognize Professor Chingpo, Dr. Chinwe Obi, Dr. Victor Ibubeleye, and Dr. Okudiri Anasiodu for proofreading and putting this work together with me. I say thank you, thank you, thank you. To the inaugural series committee and planning committee for this event, I say thank you. You enriched my work with your very constructive criticisms. To all our invited guests, I am overwhelmed that you honored our invitation. Thank you for honoring our invitation. And finally, once again, to the Vice Chancellor of the university, not as my husband, but as the Vice Chancellor of the university in his capacity as Vice Chancellor. Thank you, sir, for making the enabling environments for us to thrive. To everyone who came, as I bow out, I want to thank the University of Port Harcourt Women Association. Opwa, Opwa, Uniport. Today, we made history. Thank you, and thank you.
Please, let's put our hands together for our 250th inaugural lecturer as she officially presents the lecture to the Vice Chancellor of the University of Port Harcourt. Please put our hands together. That's not how we clap, please.
I must say that that was a very good presentation, madam. Congratulations to our First Lady. May I now invite the Vice Chancellor, Professor Owunari Abraham Georgewill for his closing remarks. Vice Chancellor, sir.
Please permit me to recognize some of our distinguished guests. I saw them after I did my introduction. We have in the house Professor Okokule, the immediate past Vice Chancellor of Rivers State University. Sir, you are welcome. We also have in the house the CMD, Rivers State University, the Provost College of Medicine at Rivers State University. You're almost looking like the CMD of ROSUATH. Ladies and gentlemen, what a radiant blaze of wisdom. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at it again now. I'm seeing the Vice Chancellor of Rivers State University. Sir, you are welcome. Sir, you are welcome. Sir, you are welcome. You are welcome. VCs, thank you so much for identifying with us. Thank you very much. What a radiant blaze of wisdom shown. What an experience carved in every word. Indeed, the taste of the pudding is in the eating. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, what an intellectually enriching and profoundly inspiring lecture. A tale of old wine in new wineskin. Professor Udeme Owunari Georgewill has not merely presented research findings. She has taken us on a journey, scientific, philosophical, and deeply human. She has demonstrated that pharmacology at its highest level is not simply about molecules and mechanisms. It is about meaning, responsibility, and a courage to rethink established assumptions. In this lecture, Professor Udeme accomplished several remarkable things. First, she clarified and elevated the concept of drug repurposing, not as an academic convenience or economic shortcut, but as a strategic, scientifically rigorous, and ethically compelling paradigm. She reminded us that innovation does not always begin with novelty. Sometimes it begins with reinterpretation. In redefining drug repurposing as a systematic repositioning of established compounds for new therapeutic purposes, she has challenged the conventional belief that progress must always originate from entirely new chemical entities. She grounded this paradigm in empirical scholarship, from her doctoral investigations into the toxicological implications of combining disulfiram and copper gluconate in cancer therapy, to her extensive pharmacokinetic and safety evaluations of adrimycin and other compounds. She demonstrated clearly how repurposing must be anchored in rigorous mechanistic understanding and uncompromising toxicological scrutiny. Innovation, she insisted, must never outrun safety. One of Africa's most pressing public health challenge is malaria. And she evaluated artemisinin-based combination therapies in malaria treatment, highlighting both their strengths and their vulnerabilities in the face of emerging resistance. Our comparative findings on dihydroartemisinin, piperacillin, and artemether-lumefantrine provided early signals of differential therapeutic durability. More significantly, our work on adjunctive combinations integrating antihistamines such as ketotifen and agents like ivermectin with ACTs demonstrated improved paracetamol suppression, enhanced survival outcomes, correction of malaria-induced anemia, and promising synergistic effects. These were not speculative propositions. They were laboratory validated, pharmacokinetically evaluated, histopathologically examined contributions, evidence that familiar drugs may indeed hold expanded therapeutic promise. Professor Udeme has bridged modern pharmacology with traditional medicinal knowledge. Through scientific interrogations of plants such as Pseudocerella coci, Abrus precatorius, Vennonia magdalena, Moringa oleifera, and Passonia stramina, she demonstrated measurable anti-inflammatory, anti-diabetic, anti-arthritic, and anti-seizure properties. In doing so, she affirmed that empirical validation does not diminish indigenous knowledge. It strengthens and contextualizes it within global scientific discourse. This is truly breathing new life into whole drugs, old wines in new wineskin. In trying to summarize the work, it appears to me that drug repurposing significantly reduces development timelines and financial risk compared to conventional drug discovery. That combination therapies informed by mechanistic diversity may mitigate resistance development. That Africa possesses the intellectual capacity and contextual insight to generate globally relevant pharmacological innovation. That safety evaluation, accurate diagnosis, and translational discipline remains indispensable. Our recommendations, however, are quite compelling. University of Port Harcourt to get more funds for laboratory. They are quite compelling, but we'll try. We'll try our best. Professor Udeme has shown us that the old wine of established drugs may indeed require new wine schemes, new frameworks, new combinations, new applications, and new policy commitments. She has reframed pharmacology as an act of scientific resilience, where knowledge is not discarded, but redefined, not abandoned, but reborn. Ladies and gentlemen, as we bring this 205 inaugural lecture to a close, please permit me to, on behalf of the Governing Council, Senate, management, staff, and students, and stakeholders of this unique University of Port Harcourt, congratulate and deeply appreciate my dear wife, the 205th inaugural lecturer, Professor Udeme Owunari Georgewill, on this distinguished scholarly milestone. Our work stands as a testament to the intellectual vibrancy of the Faculty of Basic Clinical Sciences, of the College of Health Sciences, and to the enduring research culture of this great, unique University of Port Harcourt. May this lecture not end as an event, but continue as a movement towards innovation that is evidence-based, equitable, and transformative. Ladies and gentlemen, shall we please rise? Shall we please rise and give a standing ovation to this erudite 205 inaugural lecturer of the unique University of Port Harcourt, Professor Udeme Owunari Georgewill, for this intellectually rich and profoundly relevant lecture. Thank you and God bless you. May we have our seat. Thank you.
We'd like to say thank you to everyone for finding time to be here today to be a part of this wonderful presentation, A Tale of Old Wine, a New Wineskin. Thank you very much. Thank you to the husband of the 250th inaugural lecturer. Thank you very much. Thank you. We need to recognize that He has done a whole lot of work at home on the ground. Thank you, sir. And officially, let's thank the Vice Chancellor for all he has done for us. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. Very, very resourceful, very cerebral. Thank you, Vice Chancellor. We have a few announcements for us. The next inaugural lecture of the unique University of Port Harcourt 206 series, titled The Rudderless Ship and Its Major Rescuer. Lecturer, Professor Nathaniel M. Abraham. Faculty, Education. The date is Thursday, 19th February 2026, which is Thursday next week. And the time is 3 p.m. The venue is here, CBN Center of Excellence Building, University of Port Harcourt. Please keep it in with the University of Port Harcourt and Professor Nat Abraham. Please, you're welcome in advance. Thank you very much. We also have another very important announcement for everyone. In our characteristics manner, the University of Port Harcourt has prepared a very sumptuous cocktail in honor of the 205th inaugural lecturer and her immediate family, and these wonderful academic generals on gown, special invitees to that special cocktail. Please, is at the site where it's been prepared. So those who are supposed to be there already know themselves. So you are welcome in advance. Thank you very much. Remember that this other announcement is that all professors, associate professors, deans, directors of centers and institutes, invited guests, please, I've been asked to inform you that the second phase of this inaugural lecture will be at the Vice Chancellor's Lodge in Delta Park. Professors, associate professors, deans, directors of centers and institute invited guests to proceed to the Vice Chancellor's Lodge. Now, this one is very important. They said students and all those with white card. They said if you are with white card, you should open the card and read what is on the card and comply. That is what I've been asked to inform you. And on the final notes, for those of you who came to, grace this occasion, as you leave and go to your respective homes, may the Lord bless you and give you safe journeys. Thank you very much. Let us rise on our feet as we take the university anthem. Immediately after the university anthem, the next will be the national anthem. Don't forget, we are going to take a group photograph. Thank you.
It's called the universe. From fall, I need the
The national anthem. Let's sing along. Thank you very much. Please, let's remain standing. The media will give us a special instrumental music, and the Vice Chancellor will now lead the recession. Please, those of you at the door, kindly give way. No one should be here, please. All media men, can you leave? Hold on, hold on. Everybody hold on. No interception. VC, please, sir. You can pass. You are free. You can pass, sir. Welcome, sir. Please give way to the former VC of RSU. Is it? Welcome, sir. Welcome, sir.
Hello, check 1 2 1 2 1 2.
Sir, I greet you, sir. Thank you, sir. I'm fine, sir. Thank you, sir.